I actually thought like writing online was actually something that kind of like losers did. And I remember feeling so anxious, so nervous writing my first ever article that Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Faisal. I'm a junior doctor working in the NHS. And on the side, I write weekly articles and make videos like these on self-development, meaningful living, and doing the things that matter. Now this is a new video series. It's something that I've wanted to do for some time. So just a bit of background, since like February of 2020, I've been writing an article for my weekly newsletter, LifeLemons, every single week without fail. Writing this weekly newsletter has actually been probably one of the best things I've ever decided to do, just because it allows me to be creative, allows me to practice something and keep to a habit that I've been, keeping up for so long. It allows me to connect with people like yourselves who are watching these videos. And I don't know, it's just something that has brought so many good things into my life, all from that one simple act. But the thing is, I write so much original content in these newsletters, but not everyone likes to read, not everyone prefers that format of just, opening their email and reading a newsletter every single week. And the best thing about this is that I really wanted to be more consistent with my YouTube. I love putting out videos, but the thing is, the type of videos I want to put out and the kind of level of quality that I sort of hold myself to, I didn't want to compromise on that just to put out content that, means that I'm uploading every week, especially if it means that I don't really like what I'm doing. Then that will lead to me just not, caring as much, and the videos will be crap, and it's just a vicious cycle that I just didn't want to get myself involved in. But this way, it just felt very natural. It felt like I love talking about these topics already. If I'm giving significant thought about them, and these are the things that I'm thinking about every single week, then why don't I just share it with you guys on video and just expand on what I'm already writing. And the thing is, those newsletters are always very condensed, and I feel like in a video, you get to see my facial expressions, you get to see my body language, you get to see the tone of voice a lot better than I can convey in writing. So that's my entire life story just summed up for you. But that's what I'm going to be doing for, for the near future. I'm still going to be making those other sort of short film like videos, which I really love to make. But these videos will mean that, number one, I'll be much more present on YouTube. You get to interact with me a lot more, and I don't know, just I'll be putting out more work basically. So if that's something you might like, then please like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications if that's what you like to do. Subscribe to my newsletter if you want to read about these topics in advance. If you want to sort of interact with me, I love doing that with every single one of you who do email me. And yeah, hopefully I'll be a lot more consistent this way. So the first topic I want to talk about is my first ever newsletter. It was called, what was it called? Why You Need to Show Your Work. There's so much sort of sentiment around this first newsletter, around sort of how I was feeling right up until I wrote it. And to be honest, I've never really shared that story with you guys. For some time leading up to it, I was in a state where I was kind of like building up mentally the sort of confidence to actually put myself out there, to actually create something which would be online, whether that be a video, a podcast, or writing. I felt more comfortable maybe with writing. I felt like I had been reading a lot of books, taking in a lot of content which I wanted to talk about with other people, and I thought that, I would be able to add some sort of value to it. And so I was a junior doctor at the time. I was in my first ever year of work, but like I was interested in like the creator economy and things, and I had no experience with actually writing a blog. I actually thought like writing online was actually something that kind of like losers did. I know that sounds like really savage, but I didn't really understand why somebody would write besides like if they were paid to do so already by a company. And I don't know, maybe it's just where I grew up, the people I sort of grew up around. There was this sort of stigma around starting a blog, like, which cool person you knew had a blog, like, I don't know. But there I was getting ready to write my first ever article. I remember first writing it on a platform called Medium, and I was sort of writing this article based on a book that I had recently read called Show Your Work. And when I was reading it, it was just like this manifesto for why you should just share your work online. And it just gives so many amazing reasons for why somebody should just start. And that's probably one of my favorite books, like even today, even if it was for the fact that it made me start putting my work online. And I remember feeling so anxious, so nervous, writing my first ever article that I had drafted it maybe over the course of like 2-3 days. It took me 2-3 days to get to a point where this bite-sized little article, which was like probably the size of an A4 page, it's still up there, by the way. It's one of my first articles. It is my first article, sorry. And I kept like drafting, redrafting to the point where I was like, okay, like I'm comfortable putting this out. I feel like I've checked the grammar a million times. I've checked the syntax. I've checked everything. You know, everything flows a little bit better. And to be honest, it was me being a bit of a perfectionist. Obviously, when you first start, you have this sort of social anxiety of what are people going to think. So you don't want to put out something rubbish unless you're super confident and you just want to get started. And I was super nervous. I remember sending it to one of my friends the day before saying, what do you think? You know, does it sound good? And they were like, yeah, sounds great. So I put it online, and I had kind of been hyping myself up for the months prior to actually do this. And so I feel like I would say I had mentally prepared myself for the sort of mental toll that it takes for someone to put themselves out there online. I had previously, you know, launched companies and sort of announced it to people, but this was a lot different. This was me saying, hey guys, I'm going to start writing online. And all these thoughts are rushing through my head, like, do people actually care about what I have to say? What are they talking about, you know, about me behind my back? Do they like it? Do they not? And I don't know, you just start playing up things in your head. You play up scenarios, you play up what people are actually thinking about you, and it's a whole thing. So the 3 points that I really made in the article, and I just wanted to break them down for you real quick. So this first point is to be vulnerable. I sort of touched on imposter syndrome and saying that, you know, it's a very real thing. It's something that you really do experience. I essentially said that the more we learn sometimes, somehow paradoxically, the more we feel like imposters, just because we know like how much more there is out there for us to learn. At that time, I was battling with the idea of whether or not I was qualified enough to be talking online. And I had obviously internalized that, you know, I don't need to be an expert. There are people out there who are not experts who are talking about things. Sometimes it's just good to be vulnerable with people and they sort of connect with you, you know. Instead of saying that, look, hey, I'm an expert on something, I'm going to tell you and teach you about something, you say, hey guys, look, I'm not the best at this, but I enjoy doing this. I want to talk about it, and if you want to listen, listen. If not, don't. And I'm not, you know, claiming to be an expert on anything, but I'm hoping to grow. Maybe you guys want to grow along with me. And that's a perfectly fine thing to do. And I think more people are sort of accepting towards it rather than if you turn up and say, hey guys, I've just popped out of the blue and I'm going to be your guru. Like, that's not really going to work. But there's also another line which I kind of like here, which I wrote, which is vulnerability in our work isn't just self-help advice, it's self-healing advice. And the reason why I wrote this is because sometimes when you don't really feel confident about something or you have like an insecurity, sometimes the best way to accept it is to really lean into it. Like if you feel like you might be an imposter, do that thing that makes you feel like an imposter until you no longer feel that way. Or if you have an insecurity about being on camera, then sometimes the best thing for you to do, even though it's incredibly difficult, it sounds almost insane to say so, but you have to start recording yourself, putting yourself on the camera, and that just sort of dissipates the fears. I know it's a lot deeper than that, and maybe we'll explore that in another video, but sometimes being vulnerable and sort of opening up is actually a way for you to actually heal yourself. The next point I made was let others be interested with you, like not in you. Like the idea is not for you to sort of put a spotlight on yourself and say, hey, I'm trying to become a celebrity, I'm trying to become an influencer, something like that. Is to sort of put yourself on their side and say, hey guys, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm simply conveying that information to you. Let's be interested together. And there's a great quote from the book by Kleon, Show Your Work, which says, if you want people to know about what you do and the things you care about, you have to share. And so this idea of getting like-minded people out there in the world alongside with me just by putting stuff online is like such a powerful thing. Let's say, for example, you're in this community or in this small town or city where you don't know who has the same interests as you, okay? Whereas you put something out online and anyone who's interested in that, anyone who's searching for that, anyone who's looking for that type of, eventually they will find you. The more you consistently put out work, eventually they will search for it. They'll see it, they'll like it, and they'll follow along with you. There's another great quote by Kleon in the book. It says, the problem with hoarding is you end up living off your reserves. Eventually, you become stale. If you give away everything you have, you're left with nothing. This forces you to look, to be aware, to replenish. Somehow, the more you give away, the more comes back to you. And what I really love about this is I am constantly looking to reinvent myself. I'm constantly looking to be like, okay, this is me right now. This is everything that I've learned. This is all I've experienced. If I can consolidate this, stick it in my brain somewhere, and then sort of start again and, you know, start with a blank canvas, learn more, experience more, and then consolidate it, keep doing that. That's living. That's a good life. Sometimes I feel like we get comfortable with knowing the things that we do, experiencing the things that we do every single day, and we feel like routine is, a source of comfort. But let's say, for example, you write out everything you know on different blog articles, then all of a sudden it's out there. You know that you don't want to start repeating yourself. So what do? You start learning more, you start increasing the input so that you can continue outputting your articles. And that whole process, that sort of in and out process, is actually amazing in terms of like the creative process, in terms of learning. It's a constant reminder that I have to be active, I have to be proactive in what I'm doing, what I'm creating, in what I'm putting out there, and most importantly then what I'm actually inputting into my own brain. So yeah, that was the first ever article that I wrote. It's still probably one of my favorites just because I really felt like that article embodied how I was feeling at the time. And so please do subscribe to my weekly newsletter. Every single week I write on something completely original. Sometimes it's really small, sometimes it's a bit longer, but it won't take more than like 2-3 minutes to read, and it's completely free. You can sign up to my newsletter on the website, faisaljamshade.com. I'll leave a link in the description below. But also I wanted to ask you guys, please comment down below if you like this video. If you watched to the end, drop a lemon emoji so I know who the real legends are. And tell me what else you'd like to see in these videos. Would you like me to bring on guests? If so, who should I bring on? Tag them below and I'll reach out to them. If you want me to answer some Q&As, then I'll do that on Instagram, and then I'll answer them in these videos. Hopefully I'll be a lot more consistent here. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I am super excited to continue with this new series, being a lot more consistent, and I want to hear from you guys. Tell me, how do you find this video? Should I improve it in any way? Do you like this sort of laid back, relaxed approach? Because I don't know, I feel like it's it's pretty raw, it's pretty uncut. So yeah, I will see you on one of my other platforms or in the next video. Bye.